Good. Yeah. MBA.
Yeah.
It varies once of the economy, moderated equals more growth over time for decades ago, net showing human progress in the growth, unlocks and bonus security, maximizing human rights, fucking areas, and so thrive in the future, not building lives, not 23, the growth of the approaching the growth of our decided kind of growth, second, shots, 5 million operation, but need for showing for reserve, for reserve, air business formation, I want to get 1% sort of activity, not innovation, little productivity, was next to the side of progress over 5 million people, and not likely to rate on that decline of recent productivity by factor 41, so the advantages to bring up a concentrated the with the good rates of agriculture, disaster rate, as well as the future. As we look at the planetary boundaries, this not around the company, agriculture, training capacity, very good. We run after the actual laws, absolutely already enable even eradicate poverty, disease, and we do other problems to people through emulation become a possibility grow so fast. Digital people economy levels, everyone, build the future humans to live prosperous lives. Coming to switch hold domestic growth schemes off Iran, high states to Russia and China, war, transnational risk, extinction, house revenue. The burden of mistake, the years ago, the capacity or mindset, my sister China, Russia, climate terror, disease, working on what the US matter, the better US economic, more available resources abroad without independently existing plastic waste, past tipping points, box 19. If plastics are pollution play out, great fish man, no particular of waste of iron, human, seems to be a possibility in models to use the first human has to defense system, 1% dies every 36 hours. Not changes, getting rules, species of marine place, makes there's no hope and no time to waste. Ecological degradation, those who don't plan, first needle by using environmentally positive tools to accelerate output. Latest studies, Joshua Pong 23. I don't know if you're going to see cheaper parts of improving efficiency and transition to renewable energy economy, not just trying to use for pollution, consumption for global worse health and innovation. I guess health cost budget national savings reduced. That's one for investment formulas and invest sustainable degradation cycle collaboration. Solar evidence make sustainable and for political barriers to state in 19. Solar evidence triple boost in the plus. Maybe we can increase overall economic activity. Remove the wood fossil fuel produces and capital conservation as experimented several times. What effect plus higher energy efficiency is also dollars having to pay for solar if it's possible they produce just the rates will reveal the conservers and liberals is required. People don't encourage less for solar energy because it provides economic benefits to themselves. Concentration ratio of the solar economy, all concerns are overblown state in 19. Germany's been to have any experiment proved successful business commerce, but big money sold PVV and Germany opportunity opposition coming to the solar company. It's not no benefit of where it gets $1 per located page from the utility company, the expenses leave on the census, dividend was 1,000 a month, but the US were hit with sudden chop by no fossil fuels, generate more still receive was limited averages, no need to isolate more payments, came on payments, it was projected disaster will go from oil prices was actually showing the conversation under that machine cost so little sense on the official safety for negatives not to pay for them how utility institutional consumers, but the energy more efficient energy was what good products for businesses discovered in US could be looking for the solar for help. People maybe higher bills and prices are based on expenses solar for move from less better for efficient management or bigger things way past energy. It's really good systems of regions with no plastic waste and domain raw materials very good loss manufacturing design, products for recycling, that's sort of the economy and industry 4.0. Let's get a widespread broad resilience, more volatile 20 so go the economy design IND 4.0 deeply connected that's an efforts for approach to similar to the urbanization should reach out later urban both kids health environmental pressures they hit the factors of Western generation exposure no expressive no hubs IND for the city's traffic capacity which we could argue less IND for the economy generating 5% GDP still resident people no waste prevention measures central to livelihood urban resilience solves extinction I mean less extreme urban unrest forcing authoritarian interventions in cities natural prosperity insurance on productive and urban citizens case war this is nothing suggest cities results in this technology has long-term vulnerability and intertwined with decentralized accessing electricity and sanitation plants spreading blood facing cushioning by shocks stand 19 higher utilities generator view electricity to purchase solar instead of the solar instead of money to for dividends eventually enough power to the economy could have been fossil fuels for operating going on level number solar good over experience history over the time adjustments recess value fossil fuels to go with decline equity negative implies about energy to the fossil fuels to energy clients if you over that's what you track your renewables production will fall demand there's no pricing good tax part of the with pathway or matter of production which is by solar see the plan but far less trauma and risk advantage choose modeling only solar dividends model solar dividends rate 3 you must not pass on board so you go to facing with this current gas and permanent is a cost attacking which solar system no tax no body no raise access no risk no access no energy people not having access rate, something by being represented as well as the profits for investors they pay for basing on is not sustainable. For example, everyone leaves some political barriers globally. State 19, countries are basic income, female popular, the first tax rate, Catholic between borders, and the police from basic income, nothing, necessary for basic income, because I tax and gas tax, test and fairness, we cover basic income, taxes, rate, the Ross board, which should use all of which. So to put on, why the basic income is asked for just money, no one per care of age should fund this 16 on taxes, so it is, the period when rules and individual, run to these so conversations, the attempts to cut the program itself, the economic or data administration tax or music government must be able to scale that to go to the capital, the windows of burden until last call, the PF all these fund, the investment limits of investment fluctuate out of the available capital, maybe we need more federal support insurance modeling, more aid, 12 systems, governments in the way basically good for the country, results, basic experience, individual states, navigation of the experience, never see failures, procedure, political control, models which we very support securities, where we're going to test opposition as ammunition, as a negative ground, which basically government capture. Success as well. Artificial ways they can go. So on the side of tendencies of the actors will unleash based pandemics, extinction, segments 23. There's the bigger one of all human life on the one relevant fighting. There, then we're going for the database for etc. Other disability as the complex of secondary risk issues. Like we want our channels like potential pandemic position by you notice that we notice the continuing like skills and engage facility levels will make kind of success. Pages are accessible to even people not training credit. There is autism president regardless first we have to go society as like one of the bottom root problem in body income and body 7% risk, or also resource capital, 80% onset, other parts of no connection destroyed, we have actually some security forces in Wadi University, unifying participants, give express trust and mental health study fund, numbering 100 people, only people in security, 61% move to health, not to be suicide, in order to take about cost extinction, if you don't be able to resolve it, immediately. UBI caps every extinction rate can 21 leverages the nuclear war to pandemics area can be UBI unconditional losing probably a good stabilized anti-priority services like through isolation and instability it's extinction rate disasters where cooperation will be one of the biggest justice uses original and express avoidance express avoidance or because of the partnerships necessary to manage greater control to host pandemics that's UBI risk condition period like we come from existing programs drawbacks one for the economic strategies for universities and the issues that you had and the effectiveness of people on the grass plan across the welfare of the humanity, thus the plan, the Westwood ST provide a basic income, then feed in tariff that increases fiscal redistribution in the United States, founding solvency, the plan solves. Because it's 7 insurance, unless like if you have any policy that investor confidence, by saying things as well as the mortgage rates up, that's when the risk cost about it, so there will be regulatory prices, the high prices of 57 more, the motive, our investor confidence of the more premiums, the policy cost and shape or to provide a significant investment early is clear, predictable, and will robust, APs 12, if any non-significant investors, these are decent years, production and purchase banks, this is just the very capital required to allow long and legal offer, the pricing close and purchase, public involvement, single predictable penalties, non-PC, the parties, employees or rights, we 1 2/3 shows FIT, Fed key, template China, FSC, which are seen as supposed to run off from the state of wholesale, for their about financial status, fashion, and video, for the variables of service, for the review process, after the jurisdiction laws, electronic life, the first step, for approval. First step culminates in for approval.
You also have the text.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Sure. Okay. I'll start timing either cross-ex or prep once I get that.
Good stuff.
So I got it. I'm just reloading.
I'm good for whenever.
Yeah, I'm just waiting to get this one in. Oh, okay. Are you good?
Yeah.
You said
I'm good.
basic income and a feed-in tariff. Are those two things connected?
The plan doesn't necessarily link them. We think the most likely way it's done is the feed-in tariff funds the basic income. So
And only the basic. So like basic income
If you
is
see the
entirely
linkage,
exclusively
like,
funded by the feed-in tariff, and the feed-in tariff certainly doesn't fund other things. Normal.
Yes. So if you see the linkage pick, we're gonna go for permanent account line.
Yeah.
Because the plan does not link them.
Just trying to figure out what the F does. The Haas evidence, it talks about the U.S. burden of maintaining order. Where do you think this evidence says that economic strength is the key internal link to maintaining that order?
Yeah.
It says the word economically once.
No, I mean, I disagree. It's the fourth paragraph, I think, also, or the last paragraph also recognizes that the U.S. needs to project soft power to other countries, or to foreign adversaries.
Wait, the Haas evidence
and-
looks like it's about hard power.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
mean,
need to
I
solve
understand
both
that
hard
there
power
are
and
issues
soft power?
tangential to economic power, but we think that this is the starting point.
Do you think you need to solve both hard power and soft power?
I mean, I think Haas is more in the context of soft power, so economic growth.
Okay, how does economic growth contain Russia and China?
It deters them.
Militarily? How does growth deter
I
countries?
mean, Haas at the beginning makes a bunch of arguments about how the perception of U.S. economic growth shows them that they're maintaining order. This deters Russia and China from.
Maintaining order.
That's the very first line.
Modeling advantage, what do you think sets apart a solar dividend from like the Alaska dividend that didn't model?
One is federal support, or more evidence is explicit. I think it says, quote, the reason past progressive policies have been struck down globally is because political ammunition used federal inaction as a reason why the program is perceived to be a failure.
Wait,
obviously
that's-
solve this because it does a federal program.
Wait, where do you think the Murray evidence says that the reason it didn't model is because it wasn't federal? I'm reading this card, I don't think it says.
Yes, it says these failures can be used by political interests, regional and international opposition as powerful ammunition to claim that such a system could or does not work. The future of a basic income in certain societies will be directly tied to the success
In the
of
upper
basic
part,
income.
in the upper part of the Murray evidence, it says that other countries like Canada, South Africa are trying to establish, you highlighted statewide commitments to the basic income. Why would other countries, can I finish the question? Why would other countries doing statewide basic incomes not solve?
State also means national. Like that's why it's federal / state, as if they're synonymous. That's what Murray's referring to. The other
Okay,
important
so-
distinction is that a solar dividend is funded in a different way. It doesn't use income taxes or any progressive scheme, which is why other countries would follow on.
So it's not progressive.
Well, the FIT
haven't read
might be
the
next,
index,
but not
but
You
progressive.
just said it's not progressive.
No, 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 no.
Yeah, it's
not.
normal basic income schemes are funded.
Okay, we'll take 17 seconds. Ten. Okay. 741. Sending it out.
It's 8 off and then advantage 1, circular economy, advantage 2, public.
I was just talking.
Whatever. That's fine.
Okay, does everyone have the doc?
I got it. You're on the chain. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Okay, David? Okay.
First opposite pick the rest of the argument establishing feed-in tariffs also advantage 1, 2 taxes. Interpretation of fiscal redistribution changes the distribution of income both through income tax and transfer of page 1. Redistribution for tax and rich income spending on transfer dependent the poor more values the way is a non-income claim goods and non-income tax code one limits are entered. Exclude the topic include already from any source of taxation choose grounds spikes links based on economic political costs of tax limits coercion. Taxation is a form of coercion state grants on par with force which always benefits the transfer of negative jacket more 20. Taxation of par with force percentage force right state rate or reason to offer systems without station when the violence of like equal set as a case on the violence is winner and there is somebody to reject you awake back and back with the unconstituted violence that can have you would be permitted to connect this kind of good and another right to life is not included right to be sustained to you the no fault of their own interests like condition to ensure life overseas ceasefires and provide we no action of these overseers of moral force right national but is actually the first shot as a moral for the same reason society wrong one can I give it events and then cease payments all are using benefits not just by goods would be immoral to save force them to work for good always fraud over those benefits and benefits and democracy's absurd rights are inalienable liberty should be not be true because of you the self impact the self-government 3 hours and taking a photo products is pure substantially similar to violent is aspect. The way next is specified the federal is carries out the point that not this key to age economy and stable links to straight up by politics subject. Yeah, panic it. Politics driven by fear of impending crisis cultivates the neurosis of drains life enjoyment mode negative projection that's the gateway issues of politics 3. A person can no longer get out of the talk circle of politics arises as the emerging law becomes the only source of rational outsider and no and what if our human experience the more we sacrifice the more and once the more gains fair peers and the law feeds under eyes becoming the only locus of permanent obsession and neurosis complexity again. The what is founded on linear determining economic models on a short failure P2K. The trend is no longer all done away structure policy landing tiny uncertainty can increase exponentially the butterfly magnet can dominate the system of cartoon and measurable big given operative results bifurcation points set on knife and uncontrolled economic behavior in terms of as 50-year old difficult of possible predict future behavior to perfect so measure make better micro prediction economic stability gradual growth unpredictable swings that are important to take into account no single policy competing some of these law of new philosophy demand a voice questioning and theory levels of here drive the model attempt to smooth the fluctuations and move toward more uncontrolled oscillation data for the Fed economic behavior etc. Set expansion to crisis of crowd micro forecasting more careful comparable pride effort complexity absurd as well as what is pending economic system of culture compulsory work what is over is a constant flex based on whatever occupation pre-occups another body organization where pre-occupation any playing under concepts lie outside is the main interpreting solve problems traditional ways to cause new problems only adapt to relational economic policy making a burst extinction from compounding system failure climate change goal to defeat. Cognitive motivated we need a question to offer more complex challenges are international national economic laws of purchasing the conflict regular psychology ultra economic door policy codifies undesirable as long as politics gains always lost warming will be accepted economic environmental regulation ethical naivety economic purchase frame of climate technocratic cost benefit problem etc. Any appropriate discount rate shadow prices that fill federal rising climate change framing economic psychological and essential political condoms will be a more soul for policies in a narrow framework where behavioral changes occur through price tag purchase rapidly being embedded in AI but overall having to put in policy where for the tax to extend to teaching economics curriculum like student the impression that question levels of philosophy in the imposter makers and normative analysis have read the intellectual devolution category. The United States government should devolve authority over basic income and feed-in tariff to the states and induce state governments to adopt a basic income and a feed-in tariff to institute minimum benefit standards for the basic income and the feed-in tariff laws. Federal basic income and feed-in tariff side, can you fix the text and act feed-in tariff to the third blank? The government solves the whole half voids bureaucratic failures and new implementation revives several of the riddles on. So evolution may devolve over a major departure doesn't support the federal's underage state conservation functional welfare communities argue for and evolution federal welfare is bureaucratic mess overseen by different committees enacting years apart lacking in existence approach taken by the federal great ability to avoid decision method and then MBA programs are granted they can address criticism can expand automatically by formally counts and divided cost solving include resolution and for increases evolution means starts the states for approaches that reflect their value statements and accounting rules to ensure trial funds are not misspent as the United States that's a lower minimum baby subject as sanctioned powers result in eradication of the United States or the government run welfare states matters to outlaw bribing federalism solves extent risk by August 19. New prolific climate global terms of climate change or symptoms are going to cause for failing system of governments of our federal system of abstract power away from states consolidation power and the president is special allowing me to make negotiation of also good luck policy partnership unless we address system of failures of governments we never get to a solution to saddle standard new reform government sorting powers like the states tax bill is said. Senator Mike Crowder should legislatively and publicly endorse the tax relief for American family and workers act. That's enough for the GP to get on board with the tax bill with its little sum margin and now it's key growth 313. Republicans complained they were out of the country, and since the president without endorsement Crapo, top recommend on the finance committee how Hill was involving support the bill, or moving forward to Nancy Young, both are still on the finance bill. I want to see something get done. I think we can have a good chance to pass, so we will consider individual with parties. Republicans are currently tax break through governing Crapo in this situation. Let's do this. I've been working to get this out several times. One day, you get yes, we're endorsing out of reference to Crapo. I think this have a clock on it. The plan fans of blame of GP rage and 12 for call Weiss and fire. Republicans will Republicans spending by Biden made a return of course in White House and concession we need to control what are we spending. Sorry, I need that back for that. Advantage 1. First, turn no rate hikes, Matthew 14. Boston coming with keeping rates setting inflation on the path of the two goals. So eventually, I'm not all these good things are happening. Policy boys to keep rates at current level of business consumer order and better ship holiday. Hopeful that can do basic income returns or waste price for all sides. 22. You guys reduce the supply low is going to push homes. People say homes take away the incentive to work. This result of which is cycle and worse rates way to attack this willing works and increase the causing business raise costs. But if we're higher salaries, effects we are also makers are increasing rates with lead recession, fiscal miscalibration estimates of markets guarantees exceeded with start 24. Small shock defense to take motor variable rates and providing the term concerned to high inflation heights miscalibration honors most syndromes trigger other risks that the chaos once Ukrainians will try on some hours have been already guarded long term shift and economic shield and common contagion eventually the world major power and necessity the company involved new service event adverse escalation of companies to include Balkans Libya Kashmir and Korea hardship fuel and SAs control and accelerating Western sentiment power budget and creating power I convert and design prediction of recession not lending periods for relying inflation and falling amid a lifetime labor market see the US elimination fly high rates revenue structure to automate control the fragility and passive risk and miscalibration eventually deep and prolonged risk forecast predicted rate cuts any consolidation U.S. profound effects of global markets overestimation led to earlier shipper individual rates and race park pressure no impact and hedge collapse of OECD South America Africa Europe unaffected Russian China troops and alternate economies and territories unrelated while the troop now in for Ukraine China if it will Taiwan Congress rational instead of peace are strong norms into third aggression imperialism rights opprobrium one trade in I love property have hard to identify hedge exists without leaving a trade another has been your individual were strategy matter psychological but how much hedge is inevitable misread use get a degree power hours no plastic impact which 24 every day new hell over plastic I found it's no preset when they enter the body they don't hang around cities and particles that's really said passes quickly of the suggest particles and not conserve human health the urban resilience card says nothing no reason why cities uniquely are key and it says extra threats to cities not to humanity modeling advantage. No modeling standards for the other minutes that are lead us in the transition to global BI last year strong to be a hopeless thing. National establishment transition I would assume it because BI works well the nation and interests given media and that's for the national BI code if you get kind of discount us on reporting becomes a negative example not everyone who could perceives not a reason why the solar dividend is critical to the modeling page back to the politics to the bill city expansion reverse the aging crisis and blind team. Largest problem in aging population illustration eating through tax benefits that explain somebody firmly size overcomes the market failure leading to reverse that aging crisis challenge like to take away the descent to Hopkins more worries attain levels of particularly on the demographic time bomb extinction a lot of funny but demographics impact of exodus of civilization are wide and create hazards for society leading to problems on family space and national security health and resources for society increasing due to aging and shorter labor costs to social problems demographic problems effects what if it injured Robert's environment and climate resolving problems is future gens virus hero feral security. Biological agents don't suit for share natural like working the devastation violence and conditions out the world. Has seen one attack which have come down when difficult into your complex trained by a gene and nothing over. If it boy or advantage to make it easier for all producers and if everyone to occur maybe around all vaccines, a drug habits and availability negatively inflate the odds now. BI is not solving inequality by 20 far effective have consequences on unemployment and creates aid is and a delay affects the permanent issues with that's the issue for your permanent limit housing supply drive cost housing costs increase cost of living and increase the driving of the cost of development guaranteeing income draws away from the problem no inequality is low now Smith 14 Joker did doing better than the parents 22 where they were making increased millennials wealth especially giver disadvantage for black and Hispanic without degree rural as urgent wealth is not flowing to the rich people by far the biggest piece of what was wage inequality plateaued since the name of low-wage workers 17 big gains Americans switching jobs are able to drive a harder bargain for the cost of living no impact of stress or the loneliness of it's terminally thumbed and there's not a reason why basing themselves.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. Status PO.
Status quo is always one box.
Can I get the text for the first counterplan and then the other one?
Yeah, both 50%.
Oh, you sent, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Any reasons to reject the team other than T taxes, coercion?
A spec, but
Okay, I expect.
the entire one in C.
Theoretical, for sure. Did you skip any out?
No. Yeah, I
I
did.
just popped this back, by the way.
Yeah. The devolution counterplan. I guess a basic income doesn't exist, so what does it mean for the USFG to devolve authority over basic income?
Yeah, if the 2AC stands up and reads preemption arguments about why basic income is exclusively federal authority, then the Counterplan solves that.
Well, so the FIT excludes the federal authority.
Yeah, the Counterplan devolves authority over that. The courts would grant states the authority to leverage their own DITs or FITs.
Okay, sure. So what is the issue with doing both? Like, why can't the federal federal government?
It's federal overreach. The internal net benefit is predicated on the states developing their own rules.
So your part says that federalism is good because the federal government has a bureaucratic welfare state. Why does the CP spill over to future?
Riedl's actually pretty good because Riedl talks about how the welfare and the distinctions between federal and state authority are kind of the litmus test for broader federalism. It says it's a major departure that would inform the broader federalism debate. We can read more parts of the block, obviously.
That would inform the federalism debate, but why does it spill over to future devolutions?
Well, we don't think it needs to spill over to future devolutions, right, Si? Or
Well, it doesn't necessarily need to spill over to future devolutions if it's kind of like a, federal model generally, but we also certainly do think it does spill over.
we think it would create the necessary
Wait,
working
federal model
relationships.
generally.
The real evidence is a far better internal link to an impact on a process counterplan than you'll almost ever find.
Nice.
The
Can
Riedl-
you
the
explain
Riedl- yeah, well,
the answer to my argument?
The Riedl evidence says that this is a key issue in the devolution debate, and that it would inform other devolution issues. We'll read more parts of the
Wait,
law.
where does it say inform other devolutions?
I mean, I'm paraphrasing. I can get you lines if you want.
The taxable VA is Mike Carbo key, or his support key to pass the bill?
We don't think, we think that if we provide his support, which the uniqueness counterplan does, that will get Republicans on board with the bill. But we
Are
think
they on
that
board
their
now?
main opposition to the bill is massive spending, which means the plan would inflame that and cause them to sink
Okay,
it.
so the plan is revenue neutral, it funds a basic income.
I mean, Republicans are not gonna believe that. Have you ever met a Republican who's Biden's, all his plans are gonna be funded? No, the media always goes to this costs so much.
Correct.
Talk about his
Biden's
infrastructure
support-
plan. All the Republicans were this bill is horrible, it costs so much, even though Biden fully
Yes,
funded it.
No, Biden didn't fund it, but sure, that's fine. The,
Okay,
rate hikes turn,
yeah.
why didn't COVID away or
Wizard is specific to current dynamics, current tensions, and says that even the smallest increase in rates will cause shocks throughout the entire globe.
Okay, but what is different about now that was not there before?
What?
Okay, that's fine. So, and starting again. Stop from 858.
Write it down. Send me a note.
Also, do you want me to use the tax in the chain for the devolved counterpart for home tax, or do you want me to use?
Yeah,
the one
yeah,
top?
Yeah, he said the one in the chain. So,
That's good. So what happens? Peninsula's new half is Armenia normalization.
Okay, that's not new.
sorry.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Well, I mean, they definitely just stole it.
Yeah.
They definitely didn't have that idea before centuries.
You give me a point.
There's only 3 totalization outputs online.
Well, we don't have Kazakhstan totalization 70.
Oh yeah. I knew people were gonna be Mexico and India, but it's kind of surprised people were Armenia.
How much you use? Use 1 minute. So I'm at 858.
One or two.
Yeah. Give me the new one.
Set us down from the second.
What's the other? Yeah, so advantage 1, solar dividends, or sorry, what was it? Circular economy, and the modeling advantage. Then the basic income tick. Is that a order to doc that I basic income pick, origin disad, A-spec, T-taxes, the panic K, complexity K, then the devolution counterplan, and then the politics of that counterplan.
I'm good.
Yeah.
One is one known range, certain economic collapse that the U.S. is hurtling towards the growth economy, culminating in financial instability, ecological disaster, and global conflict. That's not the plan solved. One is multiplier dividends or a sugar boost to the economy that create non-solar jobs and insulate energy from exogenous shocks. That's the second is efficiency of plan transition to the recycling economy, incentivize business to be more energy efficient. Third is externalities to plan reduces environmental degradation, accelerate output, boosting innovation, and drive forward investment. That's shown, and the dividends are phased in, slowly raising payments that prevents the Fed from raising rates instantly. And that alone avoids every single link that's seen in empirical simulations of a face-based income disputes and dissent. The Fed did it themselves, and they won't raise rates. That's even worse. 17, the program gradually implemented the economy does not face a capacity structure, and the U.S. real GDP economy below potential annual increase in inflation less than half a point, and not to reduce the faster than the price significant increase in 2.5 million acceleration of growth and increase in employment and pressure over national liquid deficit and 80 the economy is constrained by 80 will be low because the household income is low, and it really going to the chakra macroeconomic force and macroeconomic forecasts and the Fed is stupid. That's make you 19 the clear partisan and sure mandated no reason for taking down the value of the federal goods and new research and staff economists and captain from the short and long-term federal insurance interdependence of political pressures. Now 1C2 no yes in fact the hedge crop projection and declines igniting dispersion among all foreign enemies. That's the Haas evidence by accumulation defense plastics classification that builds up in marine life and human population defense has assumed that microparticles block the blood to brain flow causing cognitive collapse. That's a VO evidence and yes there's an impact to urban resilience and there are a hub of technological innovation acting as foundation for existential threat response. The circular economy revives resilience by unlocking industry 4.0 which was the job warrant. Now go to the modeling advantage. 1C1 media won't kill uptake UBI is popular developing natures in the press world like that. It stopped if dishonest media was sufficient to overwhelm boss speakers and nobody would have modeled earlier basic income pilot programs. 1C2 bioterror defense it does assume the large language modules which will tell bioterror agents exactly how to construct the perfect pathogen to wipe out humanity. 1C3 a basic income does not cause housing inflation. No, it does not cause housing inflation. It's backwards. It will increase locational freedom. That's how lit. 19. Providing freedom to live in different places in UBI, flooding the market, and the sheep homes to better residents and exert control discipline, and housing neighborhoods and overcome the demand by raising the rest backwards and landwards. And you can't raise the less unless everyone is high and inequality is high. That's flash 22. Income inequality is on the rise. Disparities exacerbate the pandemic. And the post speakers will land the Gini coefficient is fiscal measure of the wealth. And income does not what does not feel at all. It is not the reflective resources actually distributed in Ortega. Compared to 17 different indicators, best evidence model 3,000 income distribution at the U.S. Work record at the U.S.
Yeah.
Permutation do both. Perm to the counterplan basic income is key. First is circular economy and recycles energy payments instead of exporting broadband enabling independent solar adoption. That's Satan and a basic income. And second is modeling. A leading interest only extends to a large scale basic income program. That's solar dividends in Satan. Now it also definitely links in that benefit because it's incredibly costly. And conditionality is a voter kills trade transactions argument interactions incentivizes chasing labor and basic kills clashes was also get the green approach of doing the nuance research and open possibility of cheating decision making on both sides. Coercion. Only evaluate the desirability of the plan. This requires defending the uniqueness and alternative solvency. One is class. One sees construction to believe the plan is a good idea. People need to unlimited questions of scholarship. Just of the ability to engage in KH. Second is fairness. One sees a chance to generate offensively weighing the effects of the plan for it to have predictable win conditions. Performative contradictions are a voter. They also defend the taxes. The one see which violates their more principle and coercion is good. That's grade 7. Judgments are driven by the evolutionary process and unlikely every other accompanying intuitions of finding a deontology that does not deontological and the conquest of respect to be a person by counting every single well-being and if you ask a person why it's hard to put somebody in front of each other to say the other 5 you want to get that deontological answers and will be tautological and other things will only expect because you have the people if to make the opposite judgment even though the explanation lies well to the cases. It's fact. We immediately specify the mandate and they can win that it modifies the agent USFG counter being left to specify as far as resolution. They're interpreted incredibly arbitrary, infinitely aggressive and kills after cross-section normally checks. T-taxes.
We leave one is text, specific competition is arbitrary, and interpretation is critical. Second is function of the plan, makes up the markup and utility prices at C19 at Congress. No label the customer would pay for disclosure to the tax and government is spent an increment higher than the market price. And at 4 is disaggregated into taxes or transfers at adjustment 17 LIs. Harmonize the service and produce with statistical agencies, authoritative bodies confer to the framework of taxes, and transfer to a thorough updated data or redistribution as the new figures can be calculated above the change the methodology, feasibility distribution, not of course one piece amount modes, the taxes and transfers, one type part of transfers, and one is predictability, their evidence is imprecise and last intent to exclude surveys from national agencies to solve that adjustment. Second is Afghan, they stack the deck in favor of making the leg by making Asian process governments compete and functional limits track. They can read states, econ, politics, and universal fix. Permutation, do both, cross-apply framework, do the F and on, using the exclusive parts of the all-floating picture of voter moves 118 force the defense of millions of unpredictable prior questions. Non-USFG fiat is voting issue. It's illogical because it doesn't disprove the resolution so much to the private active fiat, which makes Afghan impossible. No links made or so believe in their arguments and proven by suicide debate, and our interpretation doesn't settle debate at the level of law. Complexity. Cross-apply framework permutation, do both perm, do the all perm, do the F in the all in every instance of its impact, and predictions are accurate. That's worth 13 events, or unpredictable, we can predict the 9/11 or data of the code, or the scholars, the order took the research with constraint, or research limited data and capabilities, and so the advances, and the result of varying the Latin and 3,000 citation using the disaggregated data and advanced efforts to validate the models to make confident estimate, and improve the decision makers seeking clarity about actions. Solution. Perm do both, show the blame and research perm, do the plan, counterplan, then the plan, we get to fiat sequencing, not sequencing, and perm, do the counterplan, permutation, do the plan, and the counterplan over other issues, counterplans, must could be by text and function, the perm, sure, germanus, objectivity, substituting counterplans, that solves none of the case. One is preemption, the safe feeding of sheriffs will be structured by first jurisdiction, that's conflict, and it generates conflicting mandates, which estimates investor certainty, that's Rikerson. Second is federal opposition, the backlash at the federal level disrupts the international signal, making other countries shoot it down, that's Murray, and devolution specifically fails under the scope of provided authorization. States that prices can never be unprofitable for utilities. That chills the renewable sector. That's Wiseman. 14. States like jurisdiction Congress was universal Congress and states prohibited the FIT and represent the wholesale organizing interference with the devolution industry. Congress with the powerful from the multi-state. The Great California Act for interpretation. The authority for agree with the FROC included that the states itself the FITs only if the celebrates the definition of the price of time. Avoid the cost would be the energy generated the orders to credentially affecting the efforts to comply the feasibility of the qualifying and the sort of generating capability states. Feasibility of the programs use utility in the states based on certainty and fiating state and federal actors in voting issue that can fiat through any Fed key warrant, which destroys matrix fairness and it's illogical because no decision maker can choose both. Politics. Perm do both. Perm do the counterplan. The plan is popular and sidesteps all controversies that state and inserted, and the link is thumbed. Congress passed controversial renewals like the NDA with unpopular letters while debating security, immigration, and appropriation. And if they went unrelated regulation affects bipartisanship, there's a double bind. Either current bipartisan bill shields or past controversies have support compartmentalization shields. That's at worst 16. The best evidence is resolution beyond the party's control and could be without the single factors that affect the voting party ideology and constituency. By the time the president exercises the Congress has made of their minds, and it's bipartisan. That's Stevens 21. Proposally in the bipartisan approval giving the free money, it appears that Stevens Democrats and Republicans proposals they cover the regards to the moderate and Republicans cannot be one time thing in the subject. It's got to be constraints and fiat shields link is either at the bottom of the docket or it passes immediately, and the dissent is not intrinsic to both pass plan and the bill. One is reciprocity and against the text after internal links, and second is lodging the bill. It's an opportunity cost on the decision making.
Here, read this.
All causes no impact, nor does it say extinction of the card. It's not unique to bill. It's not getting through the Senate, and all causes demographic such as immigration.
Read this.
Go to the default counterplan. Say no, states can't fund it, and they don't want to do it. It's proven by periods. And all causes state stability. That's Amendment 20. No other area has had so many companies and regional powers uphill and incredibly guilty with the new tech competition without being experienced and zero continue with the rivalries and control versus feeding companies and stronger than ever in every screen, as well as proxy of the region of the government with withdrawal and how to get out Russia and we have these terrorist and warning will be ending. Yeah. Go back to the circular economy advantage.
Unlocking Industry 4.0 solves extinction. That's CY 22. Driving force behind human industries, the cognitive revolution in the future. In the virtual real world, intelligence coupled with the real world and undergo the major change with the help of AI, such as ML, improving the symbiotic thread with the best given humans to the nature of driving human progress and transforming the technology in the world and human civilization across the world with the industry revolution, civilization, building productivity by using the nature.
Yeah, did you also just read a card off Ishan's computer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I said that.
Okay.
Let me just send this one.
I'll wait till I get it.
the contacts for the devolved CP are also set.
That's a massive space where it's marked. Let me look at it.
Yeah.
How's that?
Okay, at the permit. The contacts were sent a little bit ago.
Yeah.
Or was that?
I just got.
Okay.
One second.
Did you get all, it was just in the body.
Yeah, I got all causes and,
That's the card you got off my computer.
Yeah.
okay, and then you read the INT impact card, and that was the other one, and that was sent, we can start the process.
That card's author is actually Psy 22.
Oh,
CY 22.
fun. Okay, you good?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to start on the rates turn. You said the dividends are phased in, slowly rising according to payments. This card says that like the payments would slowly increase in revenue. Does that mean like the basic income is tied to directly how much money the payments make or the
It's
taxes
tied to
make?
what the feed-in tariff is. So
It only
essentially,
means is.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
not like a mandated one.
when the feed-in tariff is implemented, utility companies have to buy electricity at a mandated rate. When they give
Okay.
that money to solar farms, that money is taxed and given as a dividend to people. So obviously, solar farms can't just be constructed overnight. It'll take a long process before the payments eventually rise up to what we think is.
Okay, and then what is that like fee? What is a fee tax?
A feed tax, okay, it's just a mandated energy rate that utility companies have to buy. So essentially what it does is it prevents utility companies from going to fossil fuel producers
Right.
before they go to solar producers. So they have to buy all the solar energy before they can move there. So right now there's actually a very small percentage of the US that's running on solar. However, once they quickly buy all that, it'll be business as usual for, the solar.
So the app imposes a fee on the like on using solar energy.
It's guaranteed profits as solar producers, I guess is the best way to think about it. You
It's
have to
guaranteed
buy
profits.
solar-
Where does the government make the money from?
Yeah, when they tax it.
When
So,
they tax
so
it.
they're saying
Tax profits.
you have to go to solar farms, you have to buy it at this rate, and then of that money, we'll tax them.
Okay. The BI pick, the deficits for the first advantage. I understand this evidence says like dividends would be involved in these fees, but why does it say those dividends are key?
Yeah, so the main impact is the Fitzroy evidence, the inserted state evidence.
Yeah.
If people don't receive a dividend, there'll be massive consumer backlash, and it'll generate investor uncertainty. And we have really good empirics.
What does consumer backlash do to like solar projects?
Yeah, people won't implement solar panels.
Why?
What?
Why?
Because if they don't have money, if you don't give them dividends, you're essentially shooting up their.
Wait, hold on. Okay,
without
so
giving them any
you
means to-
tax these solar projects and then you give the dividend to everyone for the money you just taxed from these people.
No,
Why
we're
does that not
taxing the
take?
solar farms. We're not taxing the consumers.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, so.
Then
so
why is the dividend
I mean, think
necessary
about it
part
from
of
the
it?
consumer's perspective. You've just made it more expensive for utility companies to provide electricity. They're gonna obviously mark up prices a little bit, and you're giving consumers no means to pay that additional energy bill. So by giving the dividend, that offsets the cost, and that consumer backlash prevents, allows.
Why are consumers necessary for like solar projects?
Yeah, so the state and evidence says that when consumers don't backlash, investors are more likely to invest in solar projects.
Okay,
so they'll start
That's
building
fine. The
farms.
modeling card, actually no, let's go to the devolution counterplan. The modeling deficit says that there are like currently some state projects in the US. Why does it like disprove the modeling of the counterplan?
Wait, what line are you referring to about state?
Yeah, well, I don't think this card says anything, but the only line that mentions the states is like, in this quote, there are state projects of basic incomes.
Yeah,
Like, that's not a reason why there's no
the
model
other
of all
country
50
has really
states did it.
modeled those to at the federal level.
Okay, why don't those model? Why is the Fed the only one that can model?
Well, they want federal endorsement, they want a national model.
No card says
And
that.
then they also want a way to raise it without progressive taxes.
739. 39 seconds left. Same.
While you send the 2 and see if I use the restroom. And my water bottle.
Give me 1 more second, my computer's messed up. Okay. 7 seconds. I'll send it out. Oh, he's waiting to get back.
Are you watching playoffs?
What'd you say?
Are y'all watching playoffs?
No. You?
Yeah, I was watching, or trying to watch the Lakers game yesterday. We lost.
Oh, God, man. Y'all go for an order. Okay, coercion, BI pit, the devolution counterplan, advantage 1, advantage 2. Everybody good?
Wait. I need the order.
Okay, coercion, BI pit, devolution, 1, 2. Yep.
I'm just ordering.
Okay.
The 1AC forcefully extracts labor through the coercive power of the state through taxation underwritten by violence and conceded it violates inalienable rights by forcing people to work for the supposed greater good, which itself is violent and justifies hierarchical violence. Voting neg means rejecting that paradigm. Our entire point is that it doesn't have to solve anything, meaning we only have to win a link in our framing arguments to justify a neg ballot. The dissent outweighs the case, conceded multiple theses from the 1NC. One is ethics, there's no value to life in their system. The 2EC position has sacrificed morality entirely, so you should view this debate as a referendum on two competing ethical systems, one of which is almost entirely unjustified. Two is side constraints. Rights exist beyond the government, so you can't take them away. There's no intrinsic value to the plan. The 2EC never said extinction outweighs and conceded the natural rights thesis always outweighs. Consequences and first doesn't answer this because they didn't tell you which consequences are preferable. No new 1AR answers. I'm not making new framing arguments explicitly because the 2EC was so bad. Block decisions rely on 2EC mistakes, and this is a new app which is bad. It causes race at the bottom. 3, voting neg solves the app. Voluntary association solves inequality because people are more likely to agree to redistribution if they aren't compelled to. That's the more evidence. Framework's irrelevant. This is a dissad. Each violation of rights provides uniqueness, and the alt is the status quo. No perf con is justified by condo. Negation theory is true. Not a comparative choice between teams, and everything else in the 1EC is an even-if statement. At worst, it's a reason to reject the argument, not the team. There's also no offense. They have to say tax is good because it's in the plan text anyway. Group the next two arguments. Consequences. Consequentialism is beaten in the 1NC means it also doesn't matter if the plan provides societal benefit, whatever that means. 1, justifies feeding everyone utility monsters as long as the net balance of that action is better for the net balance of pleasure and pain. That's similar evidence. 2, consequences are unknowable. Limit 2K, it's impossible to know the future consequences will be unusable. Any event have effects down through history. Imagine Germany before Jesus, a pregnant woman. He orders left to be spared, but Angel was great grandmother of Hitler. And do Hitler's conspiracy, Richard acted wrongly. They did not have Richard kill Peter, avenge Alexander Samantha to get married, and have descended Malcolm the Julia Pauling, who's committed crimes vastly more extensive. How terrible Hitler's crimes and consequences are probably less vast than sparing Angie or inscrutable. We have the only people who are far from consequences. Perspective to suppose Hitler was wrong. We do not have evidence to clue about consequences. Foreseeable consequences are such a drop in the ocean against only the weak of choosing to think action right or wrong. 3, suffering is unquantifiable. There's no way to measure pleasure or pain, so you should presume against arguments that purport to do so. 4, justifies atrocities. The Iraq War was util logic. 1% risk of WODs outweighs a million civilians dead because of magnitude times probability. 5, it's unworkable. We're all debating instead of working for effective altruist charities, proving that we have intuitive moral attachment to things other than long-termism. 6 is tyranny of the majority. Justifies the suffering of minorities for the greater good of the majority, allowing slavery and subjugation to fly under the radar. BI pick. Keep the BI pick, purposes of competition, reject the argument, not the team. Kinda we get what we did in no 2NC counterplans or kicking planks 1 flex kickable. Actually, no 2NC counterplans 1 flex kickable counterplans are key. Fiscal redistribution is nebulous, requiring multifaceted testing. Absent of the best opposites of the 2AC, first and last features, prep advantages, and vague plans. 2, logic. Kinda bad is an unpredictable, non-resolutional rule that denies the negative status quo, which should always remain a logical option. Concede from A-spec that arbitrariness outweighs everything. 3, innovation. Fallback strats encourage new arguments. Turning research. Reject dispo. 1, definitional consensus. There is none. 2, force purpose. Process counterplans. World peace planks. 3, cancel flex. 2EC takes the block. 4, research inevitable. If the J turns best argument, the 2EC will always go for it, and turning this had solved. It's also illogical. It forces the judge to vote for a world worse than status quo, which is a massive internal link to predictability, which outweighs debatability.
Devolution. Counterplan.
The counterplan devolves authority over basic income and a tariff to the states and incentivizes them to adopt it. That spills over to revive American federalism. That stymies American political dysfunction and solves existential risks like climate change, prolif, and terror. That's Mahalik evidence. Drop the impact of the 2EC means any chance of solvency outweighs. He also conceded a solvency takeout. Bloated federal bureaucracy will slow down and bog down benefits administration and confuse applicants. No new answers. This was in the 1NC card and tag. They should have answered it. Block decision July on 2EC mistakes. They say durable fiat solves this. It doesn't. Durable fiat means they get to fiat the beginning of implementation, not that it's successful or not that it's bona fide its implementation. Perm do both. You can't do it. 1, abolish means 0 federal benefits. Hard 33, abolish imports absolute destruction, meaning to utterly destroy, do away with wholly particulated institutions. 2, the perm's ambiguous message means conservative states say no. Allen 4, we test proposition the case studies of state policy controlling for forces that influence policy, financial incentives have strong influence on state policy making when national action is clearly not forthcoming when the national government since states an ambiguous message that influence is non-existent. 3, cancel the net benefit. It's not devolution, which requires signaling willingness to let the states take control in order to spill over. That's rebuttals evidence. Merely allowing the states to duplicate federal programs is the status quo. Can't do the counterplan. 1, grammar. The resolution expresses that it must be the federal government doing the increase. That's an Org 20. A sentence is a completed thought explicit relation to the subject is now. Verbs answer the question, what does the subject do? Prefer plain meaning. I should buy some snacks. Does that mean I should induce my friend to do it? We had 12 words to be in their or in their everyday meaning. The rules, the most fundamental semantic rule of interpretation, divine arcane nuances. Every word to be expanded in this plan in common sense. 2, anything else means states. Doesn't compete as long as the federal government tacitly agrees or is in any way with their mandate. Strips the only functional limit on the topic. Cross-apply all that do both answers to the counterplan. Then the plan means that it can't effectively solve federalism. Other issues permutation is illegitimate because it has function. 1, ground internal net benefits get erased. This is the only way to produce offense on this topic, especially at the TOC, where apps break new squirrely social security apps every single round, putting us structurally behind. 2, perm gaming. Text gets shuffled to add unpredictable or illegitimate functions. 2, shape words from advantage counterplans to fiat. Out of this has 3, real world. Decision makers evaluate policy based on function, not text. Promote portable education by comparing function first. 4, logic makes ban the plan non-competitive, which is unpredictable. 5, context. Words should never be evaluated in a vacuum, removing them from their original context tactics, it's unpredictable. Turning their offense, it also fails because it looks like do both. One, functionally, the function of a permutation is defined by the evidence, which most closely defines it. The only card which uses the words fiscal redistribution and the issues that they perm is solvency advocates, which makes it perceptually like the plan, independently rejected for vagueness. The app doesn't specify which other issues to do the plan over. No preemption. The Fed makes it so that they no longer have any authority over the issue. There's no conflicting mandates. The counterplan devolves all authority to the states. It also takes out federal opposition. The Weissman evidence is about jurisdiction, which the counterplan devolves all of. We don't fiat non-federal actors, which was the 2AC theory. Interpol the line, no link to theory, but we're also, again, conceding from ASPEC that non-resolutional theory is bad. They don't say no, states follow inducements. Incentives for followers, coupled with sanctions for dissenters, means states always say yes. That's one to see read for reference. No partisan federal incentives, which empirically spurs uniform adoption. Welsh 80. What Congress has become legislative improvement state adjustments, policies for federal incentives will diffuse among states, letters for uniform adoption. Comes with the federal government diffusion rates not occur by functional area of the policy. Hypothesis that the presence of federal incentives greatly speed policy diffusion is exactly what happened. Area of policy has very little impact on the diffusion rate. Even if direct incentives fail, the counterplan's uniform endorsement ensures states follow along. Again, 15. National policy discussions affect state policy discussions or influence states' perception of the benefits important of the state's Congress and affect policy by engaging in exploratory activities. National policymakers stimulate the generation of policy results are generalizable in particular to welfare laws. National actors take up the debate and this can join the parade. Circular economy advantage. We will concede that the Fed says no to rate hikes. That is the only internal link to the washboard evidence. It's not a generic econ impact, which means there's no straight turn to the dissag. Collapse inevitable doesn't take this out. The washboard evidence is about high rates breaking down a trust between nations and collapsing international responses to issues. It does not merely say recession. The INT 4.0 stuff. This is not an impact. Code 20. Health and environment are deteriorating due to innovation. Includes landfills and waste mining. Landmines rather than cherry picking. The support of preconceived innovation is always good. We understand innovation is direct. Have adiabatic effects and those are unevenly distributed. Choices are complex and the selection that weeds out bad innovation is not for granted. Policymakers neglect innovation in this direction and take it for granted that more is better. Understanding downsides help inform policy. There's also no impact to leadership loss. The fudgely conceded the FatWise evidence. They say that it doesn't assume foreign enemies, which is obviously untrue. FatWise is a study over generation. It says that U.S. projection of power and involvement in other countries statistically is not linked to any greater peace or deterrent effect. And regardless, the economic strength is not enough. The Haas evidence says that military power projection is key and never links economic security to that power projection. It's one offhanded line, not a fleshed out internal link. There's no plastic impact. Of course, it assumes microplastics. Our evidence is from this year when microplastics became a thing. It says humans are able to withstand dispersion of plastic throughout the environment, and the amount of plastics are linearly going down throughout time. There's also no urbanism impact. The 1AC evidence is a laundry list with no warrant. It also says that it is key to sustain life for cities, and that it never says an existential impact. Model. Status quo solves modeling if the plan does. One is median wealth, traditionally the status quo solves inequality. Median wealth is going up for low-wage people, and wage inequality is the key internal link to all equality. That's conceded in the 2AC and is plummeting post-pandemic. That's the Smith evidence. Their evidence in 2022, which doesn't assume post-pandemic to plummeting and inequality. And modeling is also zero risk. Media would counteract it, and Alaska should have thumped it if it would have ever happened.
Okay. Origin dissent. Firstly, I guess, how would you define a right?
A natural right that exists apart from the state.
Okay, so explain that. How can, what do you mean a right that exists beyond the state?
Well, I mean, to be fair, this was not even pursued in the 2AC, but I will answer for the purposes of education, not for giving you any new arguments, because I'm not going to answer. But what was your question again? What's a right? It's something that you're born with.
How can
it's
it
endowed unto you by the universe.
Sure. Do you, I guess, I don't understand how there's no alternative to this. I guess, what is voting neg to? Is it just the rejection?
Well, it's literally disadvantage. It's the squat.
Okay, sure. Let's move on. The devolution counterplan. What are these federal incentives include? Is it just money or?
Well, it's like grants, but also probably fines for people that don't do it.
Grants. Okay.
I mean, that's what the one is.
Regulating energy and mandating rates is a very expensive process, which you pay entirely for the states to do.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. And then, I guess if it's illegal for FERC, for states to mandate energy rates without FERC approval, would you also fiat that the courts step in as well?
The counterplan is durably fiated, and it's USFG fiat, so devolution would work. Yeah, I mean the courts, if it contradicts court doctrine, the courts would appeal that.
Wait, what is the side insurance working on?
There are certain things that you can never do under any circumstances.
So, why does that mean?
You cannot tax under any circumstances as a side constraint.
Why?
Because it's unethical. It's bad. It's akin to forced labor.
Okay, this is where I got.
I mean, drop the thesis in the 2AC. Obviously,
We heard the consequences and you told it.
it's actually just the consequences.
Okay.
But
the Welsh evidence under solvency, what empirics is this referring to? It just talks about policy with roommates. I don't see an example.
It's a study over like decades of federal
So
incentives.
what is it studying?
It studies federal incentives and their effect on state policy. It says that they work.
Most line says this. It says that there's been the presence of a lot of federal incentives.
No,
If anything,
that's
the
not
model
true.
says it has a very little impact on its diffusion rate.
No, hypothesis was that the
The very
presence of
last
federal.
line, it says that this area of policy was.
No. It says that what the area that they are incentivizing in, i.e., like incentivizing within different areas, doesn't matter.
That-
Incentives are always effective. That's what the
Oh.
line is saying.
That makes sense.
Sorry, Leo. Okay, so. Is everyone good for an order? Okay, it's complexity, then the fear/panic, you need tax bill disadd, and then topicality income tax. Okay. Westwood, good? Alright.
Complexity, kick it, purpose, and just combination theories, reject the argument, not the team fear. Kick it, purpose, and just combination theories, reject the argument. Tax bill. Kick the tax bill, this have purpose, and just combination, PC, no impact to aging crisis, compartmentalization, shields, means a plan cannot affect the bill in any way, no offense of the vote. T. Topical permanent disposing finance through personal income taxes, as fast payment is survival because plans tax the regulatory non-redistribution that allows a nuclear war of limits from absent financial way with any tax notes like taxing carbon data, financial transaction, automation, space storage, or any other activity that any reason it should be discarded, dropped, impact in the 2AC, the economy interpretation, they dropped the violation to 1C, said the plans, energy fee is the non-personal income tax, the 2AC dropped it, answering regular T tax, though, new answers to 1A is nonsense, pennies in a vacuum, means the plan should be understood as saying the USD should raise income taxes, and by establishing the plans, FIT, those two taxes have nothing to do with each other, and is reading the plan produces word salad as way for vagueness, has nothing justifies voting on percentage at best, but instead of vacuum just begs the question whether the thing they call fiscal redistribution actually is redistribution. The only way of evidence on that question. Choose E1B, the plan obviously not include an increase in progressive personal income taxes. This simple objective income tax is directed for your paycheck before it ever hits your bank account, or a direct function of how much money you make. The plan tax and what people do with their income, not the income itself. They violate three parts. A is fiscal redistribution to sales, direct taxes targeted at the rich man's fund, targets benefit targeted at the poor, and lessing 15. Fiscal redistribution evidence to an extent to which transfers targeted by the poor, direct taxes targeted to the rich. B is direct tax or individual income tax, social insurance contribution, everything else is a tax collected from firms, which includes things like sale value added and excise tax, part of 86. Direct taxes are defined as tax on individual income tax, and what contribution social charge. Direct taxes are collected from firms, including sales and value added tax, employer contribution areas. Excise taxes, C. Indirect taxes are not redistributive for Bank 23. Indirect taxes are not redistributive in nature. Poor members have high marginal propensities to indirect tax accounts or higher percentages of their account alternatives with more progressive tax rates. Factually, the APS tax is indirect. Any tax on goods or services, excise tax, tax on transaction or extraction, and national use violates LSC and 70. Indirect taxes are imposed on transactions involving personal goods and services, and will include VAT, sales tax, excise duties on goods, transaction taxes on the use of goods or property, tax on extraction, and production of minerals on profits and all places. Extra G is not a violation. The plan tax itself is untopical. Now, I said interpretation of fiscal redistribution exclusively the redistribution of income through transfer to personal income tax, not vast evidence redistribution is quantified by its effect on the household income inequality, which can only be measured by and narrow focus on the income itself. Redistribution is solely a reallocation of income. There is by the mechanism by which the distribution of income is changed through transfers of resources from one individual to another. Donnie 21. Redistributing may define as business by which should be income change and not rejected, while which includes public assistance and insurance and the current team is market value employee to define as a transfer research individual. The Desert evidence is also so none of our offense and laws. Every tax under the sun is based on the Gini coefficient that actually supports our interpretation. There is it's measured by comparing household income inequality before and after transfers and income tax. Their interpretation affects the Gini coefficient through transfers alone, which violates because redistribution must entail taxation. That's the one. It's the interpretation. B is the Gini coefficient calculated only using income tax, social security contribution, and transfers as variables. 70. To measure redistribution immediately up to standardized world income inequality data misprices the market inequality and honest economies we address data equality by restricting to more reliable sustainable 20 developed countries variables for measuring distribution are representing need for market and income variables like taxes, social standards, direct taxes include tax on income wealth, social economy, social security funds, output is only factored by cents on listed and post correctly, and the ones that explain the difference between income and income inequality. See, this is how the Gini coefficient is calculated. It's measured by the reduction in inequality for transfers and income taxes caused on a team. Redistributive effective tax and equality and career household inequality before and after Gini. This is done by on the basis of engaging in a fund rate cash measure personal income taxes and SSC, not a normal means of violation. This is not T taxes, it is T income taxes. Predictably, we have one return and we are more predictable. Last evidence is clear to define is defining in the broad redistributive context are in terms of the consistent view and inequality says they're all framed around redistribution of income through taxation by TC16. Every distribution income distributed is inequality seeing in market income before tax without charges and disposable income after tax charges including transfers, taxation transfers, greater redistribution income. This is usually progressive as the direct tax are more progressive. That's reducing inequality and is the transition market into disposable income. 2 limits started to gaps. People cannot provide prayer for them all. 3 quantifiable difference. It limits outweighs an unquantifiable difference in predictability. 4 debatably turns it. Community norms coalesce around debatable interns because they know that debatability matters. 5 crossed by the counter answers above. Their term agrees on income taxes are the only redistributive taxes. We just explain that further. Afground is ridiculous. One thing in every core of the topic. JGBI funded through deficit spending or income taxes as well as social expansion funded by payroll taxes. 2 topic balance outweighs a game theory. They speak first and last pick the topic. Haven't been deprived or forced to be reactionary what they say. B is empirics. Arm sales was good. CJR was bad. Limits collision of functioning. Eliminates that ground because of low prep side might have extra time for defense. 3, the only warrants they were agent and process counters is not a link. Don't let the winners make new offense on Afghan because they'll do the only 2 examples they gave. States offer functional limits is wrong. It's being by specific regulatory taxes with Fed key warrants like there's econ loses the tax that's all growth theory and FTT proves universal banks has 0. Net benefits are lose. Deficit trade-off is not a real argument. Don't let that winner make any new functional limits arguments.
Okay.
On bioterror. The whole thing? Or? Yeah.
Bioterrors are overseen by journalists. There's counters, national selection, environmental contagion, trade-off they make. Creating bioterror possible as a evidence for warrants. Stress is inevitable, massive happens in life. There's not a reason why the planet's basic income is cheap.
HPA, drops right now. I think I need to adjust to cover my bases. Was there any hidden very reasons to reject the team of the law?
Other than US bad and Vegas.
And US bad,
And Vegas, right?
it's not even really reason.
I didn't say anything.
US bad justifies antics. That's our argument. But you should answer.
Yeah, I think.
Stop. 120 left. I'm sending two parts. One is in the body and one is in Iraq. Or do you want me to put both in Iraq?
Sorry, what?
What did you say?
Do you want me to? So I'll just put one in Iraq.
You had 120 left, you said?
Yeah. He's sending it out. I'm sending it out. Order is the circular economy advantage, the modeling advantage, the coercion K, T income taxes, devolution counterplan.
Give me-
You got it?
Yeah, I'm opening it up.
This was not. I'm gonna need this. Yeah.
Okay, I'm good.
Sorry, let me just put this states card in the doc.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm good.
Good. MBA?
Yeah.
Yes, I have back the evidence is beautiful decline of evidence about physical poverty, U.S. population through economic needs and foreign adversaries. They drop that it's not about just Russia, China, Iran, ISIS, and Norco, and terrorist groups legally active upon assignation. The plastic sauce exchange evidence is distributed material, the increasing biodonation to be agreed that the library is high now, which will their evidence says, but increasing landfills will cause it, the drugging, troubling, but left will also get killed with some ripple effects toward biodiversity, rushing the food chain, causing extinction, yes, impact on urban residents. Evidence includes is not a tremendous upside to eventual innovation. It's also not just about technology, industry 4.0 solves every impact, but evidence is that it develops AI simulations, which allows humanity to better plan against every existential resolving the benefit of the Counterplan, the modeling advantage on the side concentration, which is active fluid release elements, pandemics, and dual use tech, which humanity has no recourse for. That's towards its sentence. No be both are it shows that inequality as prices and spatial distribution welfare, inefficiency and resource allocation. They are only looking at employment income. It will increase in the future due to automation. That's a lush evidence. Yes, by her. They are the LLMs will engineer viruses that overcome constraints and natural spread without further terrorist intervention. Stress is not unavoidable. UBS will increase mental health outcomes and the income inequality is a single largest factor that bolster up the public goods impact. The Candice evidence which says basic income solves a bunch of threats like climate change, AI, etc. Coercion K. Consequentialism is vast. Tracy. Green evidence says consequences ain't usual, so the 1 year is not new. Yes, other life people not committing suicide process intrinsic value. Extinction is a highly painful cost of mass amounts of suffering. Side constraints. We keep this frame. Extinction outweighs the nice future value. That's 1 EC not extended on the case page. Util is good. Facts 13. So the evidence is util is one levels. Responsibility reward and very high. No flexibility more income. Never replicate purpose and high purpose. Because you're not in theory. This is justified because the block new cards consequences are noble. We can accurately predict the future with high information and decision suffering is modifiable through more intuitions and pain receptors in the brain. No atrocities. Extinction is an infinite. It's just a very large impact to the majority. They need to know that their magnitude outweighs their worst for it because they are prioritizing certain lives over others. This is the result of genocide. The ontological rules are unreliable due to favoritism and inconsistent intentions and emotional responses. The only correct way is to act as an impartial observer. Util is the most universal ethics since everyone agrees that pain is bad and pleasure is good. It's impossible to their thing is impossible to universalize because Westwood thinks taxes are good and they have no frame to impact calculate. Yes, you also have an infinite ethical obligation to the victims of war and extinction. You are good. Here, critical thinking and portable skills. They agree on theory is bad. Apply that to every other specification or commit or any other arbitrary theory. The block T income tax is being planned as a vacuum. The FIT can be interpreted as an income tax. One or preparedness. The plan is the only resolution made. They become a slippery slope to cherry pick random person. The app to cheat and CPs. They all fix a combination of tax CX highlighting which encourages bad CX practices. The vagueness makes them teeth will be bigger in the other aspects of way to dash links. Their risk averse reading definitions on case or distance for combination. Solves plan book creates incentives to specify for solvency. Avoiding deal links and work. They can read evidence to define minimal means, and which is a question of like not the mandate. Elevate links to the also limits links to combination arguments because everyone is reading the resolution backwards. The plan is extra topical since it can be interpreted as a basic income funded by income tax and an FIT, which is extra topicality. So it proves the resolution key to the Afghan enforcement, which rewards holistic research and their arbitrariness and non-theory elements applied here. Counter-interpretation of any tax are topical. The Gini coefficient and household income is affected by a multitude of taxes. Will continue to be ability outweighs the interpretation of Afghan. If it makes out of income taxes and less the loss CP and on the funding mechanisms, so lead at the F, no game theory block, process CP check, yes, functional limits. They said new limits cards, so we get new answers. States quality, econ inflation trade-off, and also full force big ass. It's a bit more than I block the last of your dad. The BIGG are heavily constrained by universality and the SS makers question. So the arguments and advantage ground, limit all three subsets, and there's no answer to the linkage fake. Here's evidence 9.3. Numbers towards 43% of the time. The devolution CP, no solvency take that durable fiat solving it if you had effective enforcement with good faith. Otherwise, if you have loses or convention, and it also typically expect the CP, parental plan, and CP over other issues. It's also does not link to both answers. The other issues were simply income tariffs, basic feed, and general tariffs, which are distinct issues not perceived as the same. No vagueness. The premise is about as vague as the CP, and will concede that the drop reasonability or rather substance card outweighs CP must be by both tax and function one after other interpretation. Infinite cheap just like the benefits like regnet, consult, delay, sunsets, etc. defaults into normal means fixed. Two is Germany, the central benefits, enough with the infinite proper advantage of the nag line with dodge slashing with the 1AC blocker segment, which distracts from research and topic innovation. Three objectivity function only allows the shiftiness to expert predictability, builds fairness, no ground loss, need plain specific evidence, makes out of makes sense more to economist check, balance stability, theory into CPs, check add-ons, our interpretation is limited, we can only delete words from the CP text and not change the text topics next advice to get the block literature. Controversy is generally that gaining and functional limits from the other will apply. No real world impact Germany turns in, and we still divide the CP's functions. We just raise the burden for the competitive counterplans. Germany turns logic by allowing true opportunity, not testing new impact spreading, and speech times were illogical and justifies and logic, justifies intrinsic success. No solvency or evidence is insane. It's written in the context of work, certainly granting authority to the state framing issue. The states can't technically set a mandate for rate energy, but we must receive approval from the forecast done before. But it's always followed by a vivid investor uncertainty that quote chilled renewable sector that makes investors highly unlikely to fund full project, which is key to both advantages. That's why once the economy absent lower resource efficiency becomes impossible to modeling. If solar projects aren't funded, then the dividend will be small because there's no solar forms of tax, and it's the function equivalent of giving people a few dollars a month. States destroy everything. March 16. The ones same thing about the tools and various activities projects. So expressing pleasure confusion. Difficulty consistently.
32.
It'll be 2. Every good as I said.
Yeah.
Vote neg for limits. Anything else allows after specify any tax is an unlimited multiverse of madness. This is not merely a question of allowing a few more asks. It's about one limited topic versus nearly infinite affirmatives, each of which could take up an entire year of debate. The 1 hour is conceded a distinction between redistributive and regulatory taxes. The Aviona evidence in the block is fantastic. Their term expands the resolution to include taxes whose sole purpose is regulatory. Any behavior that anyone says is undesirable or should be regulated can now be taxed to fund the plan. Taxing carbon emissions, financial transactions, data, automation, space tourism all become viable. It even subsumes the entirety of of previous topics, taxing water pollution to repurpose water advantages, taxing certain types of arms development to incentivize shifts to different ones. Under their interp, apps can shotgun new things that should be discouraged in the status quo or regulated and have no inherent link to redistribution, and read infinite advantages based on that process of quasi-regulation. There is no credible functional limits case in the block to consider multiple arguments for every individual functional limit they went to or states. Auto loses to regulatory taxes that are always within the Fed's purview, and Fed key warrants are impossible to answer when the app can break infinite new advantages that have new Fed key warrants that we can't prep, even if the state's counterplan might solve with more research. Breaking new provides a terminally unbeatable advantage to the app, means we can't predict every single regulatory advantage under the sun. The econ disadvantage loses to new taxes which solve the economy, proven by the ones that they read in this debate and things like Greenhill's FTT. They can always have a new insertion in the economy which they claim solves growth, and we haven't had the chance to prepare because they are literally infinite in scope. It means that even if we are somehow able to garner a link to the BI or JG portion of the affirmative, that other advantage which we can't ever predict or prepare for will always outweigh that link, and they can claim advantages that we can't read defense to, which means they will straight up win on app outweighs. Even if we win 100% risk of a link to the disad, universal picks have no net benefit or they lose to deficits. There's no credible net benefit that isn't there. There's no credible net benefit to universal picks besides things like PQD or ban the plan, which we will concede that competition requires you to be textually and functionally competitive. It means that model is exported to all of debate. Apps can always go for textually or functionally intrinsic perms against these counterplans, erasing the net benefit, or they auto lose to deficits. Universality deficits are plentiful. They can read big red button pushers. Every single person getting a UBI literally decreases the risk of omnicidal people, or it can be key to things like modeling or credibility, because otherwise it waters down the signal that a basic income is truly universal, or a shift to truly universal or socially inclusive forms of BI. Also things like mental stress are also clear deficits to the universal pick because they require everyone to be in on it. A shift to social inclusion. Reasonability was not in the 2AC, and they aren't reasonable. It was implicitly answered in the block on the limits overview because the difference in our interpretations is huge. Half ground. We all agree that debatability outweighs, and half ground is a losing argument for them. Picks out of taxes are a no-go because transfer picks check them. Think about things like inequality advantages. The app can always say that taxing and redistributing within the same framework are key to resolving inequality. One alone are key, and any linkage key warrant checks backs against this, which again is an auto F ballot because these advantages are plentiful. Things like carbon taxes, IP dividends, things like that. All of them have credible internal links between the transfer and the tax being key. Both of them going together. The 47.4% win rate. Stop whining. It's because 2As are generally not as good as 2Ns, and even if debate is structurally neg biased, it's not a reason to overcorrect for the AF. Win rates are also, this evidence is also not the win rate across the season, it's win rate in elims of certain tournaments, but you can also check out on neg ground. They conceded a couple of internal links. Politics and econ discounts require things like hosting the rich in order to be viable strategies, which means that we are structurally behind under their version of the topic, whereas the stuff that they lose is really small. They also get every single core of the topic affirmative. They get the core JG and BI apps, all of which are funded through deficit spending or income taxes, and is what everybody else advocates for. Plan text in a vacuum. They literally cannot meet this. Their plan text specifies something other than an income tax. The tariff is not a tax on income, and you can't interpret it to be such. We read violations in the block, and they never read evidence that says if it counts as income. Defer neg when they haven't read a definition. It's an AF burden to establish topicality. Extra T good was not the 2AC. They said error AF on extra T, but no impact means I get no answer to this. Extra T is not good. It snowballs into infinite advantages. It snowballs into infinite advantages, and it doesn't prove the resolution is good in a vacuum, which is the AF burden. The AF can't just prove that the resolution is good in combination with every other good idea on the internet. Vagueness doesn't link to us. You cannot read the plan text to mean increase FR by doing something that isn't FR. They drop that it gets struck down and causes presumption if they win this argument. Normal means argument is irrelevant. This is justified because the one army new arguments about extra T. The 2AC argument was about extra T regarding regulatory taxes and did not say extra T good. The counter-interp one at links to our offense. Their interp is that the plan can either tax or transfer, and the tax could include any form of taxation. They haven't read evidence to support this, but this is their interpretation. 2, their interp flows neg. Lustig cites the Luxembourg income study and the Gini coefficient as ways to measure fiscal redistribution. Both of those account for only income tax and transfers. In determining policies effect on inequality means they have not met their interpretation. They have not read a card saying redistribution allows for the plan's taxes. They have literally zero offense on the flow. The 1 AR said almost nothing on off ground, dropping all of our answers. The only 2 arguments made by the 2AC were that we justify agent and process counterplans. There is no link to this. Nothing about income taxes means the court's counterplan compete or lets the negative fiat commission to do the plan.
plan text in a vacuum. The plan text is written as 100% topical. The plan says, quote, do a basic income and a fit that increases fiscal redistribution in the United States. The second half of that is extremely important. We functionally mandate that the first half of the plan must be an increase in fiscal redistribution. That means that the most logical way to interpret the plan text is to interpret the feed-in tariff as an income tax. They have 0 violation cards, and they haven't defined it as something that is an income taxation. Remember that topicality is a neg burden. It's very appealing to intuition, and even if we're wrong about the literal definition of a fit, there is 0 card that defines it in the term of this debate. They have said on predictability that linguistic standardization was impossible, and that predictability is sliding, and they haven't not defined the word feed-in tariff as per the plan text. Now, plan text in a vacuum is good versus arbitrariness or interpretation is terrible for debate. One, the CX allows for the slips of the tongue to be on the T violations and competition grounds. It also causes very shitty debate practices like hiding T violations and cross-text. It allows things like asking for when the president signs a plan is immediate as competition grounds for veto Cheeto. It also tags also links to their office because it seems to become more and more vague in their tags to avoid offense. Tagging things like extinction period in the plan solves that destroys knowing what the plan actually does and encourages hypergeneric strats. Arbitrariness is bad because it causes judge intervention, which checks fairness. Also kills predictability because we never know we never know what is the violation grounds. Plan text in the vacuum is best because it allows for a clear way to determine what is topical and what is not. Second, is cheating counterplans. Plan text in the vacuum causes textual and functional competition because it means that the plan is interpreted not only through its function but also the text. Or interpretation is functionally positional competition because it allows violations off of things outside of the plan. That allows infinite cheating counterplans, stuff like pigs out of cross-text, lay counterplans and process counterplans. All the examples above, textual competition destroys that because it's not germane to the plan, and the functionally intrinsic perm beats it because it does the counterplan process over another issue. Now, their interpretation is uniquely worse for this because themes will be vaguer and tags, CX highlighting and 2C in order to dodge length. Debaters are fundamentally risk averse, so they'll avoid clash as much as possible. The status quo is already vague plans, which makes their impact non-unique. Now, the negative can still define what works in the plan, but those simply characterize its action. They can read the interpretations that set up links for dissents and competition for counterplans, but not a procedural argument. And if the absolucy mechanism is untopical, then they can just win on presumption. Regardless, extra topicality is good. Remember that the plan text doesn't exclude income taxes, so the basic income can be funded through both FIT and an income tax. If they're correct about their interpretation, then you ought to interpret the basic income that increases FR as basic income that is funded by both an income tax and a feed-in tariff. This is not illegitimate in the 1AR. They made new violation arguments in the 1AR, so the 1AR gets new answers, and the F was factually extra topical as for the 1T violation, which they didn't point out. So the 1AR was definitely justified in saying that. Now, framing issue, we'll concede their interpretation, so the F certainly has to do at least an income tax, which solves all of the limits around the defense in the 2NR. In the 2NR, there's no offense. They dropped the linkage rate piece of defense. They can counterplan to do the plan or the counterplan the extra topical portions, which portions are germane defense of our internal links. Now, in counterplans can text the intrinsicness of advantages for the resolution. Random offense would never win debates. Every action that lacks a topic would be instantly evaporated by a pick. Linkage key is impossible to find because there's very little literature that advocates for topical requirements in combination with extra topical proposals. At worst, evidence from linkage keys in line with the topic literature, because the same research teams will lead us to those asks. So then they should be able to predict it. Now, no presumption if we remove the feed-in tariff part of the plan, then a basic income would at least solve a little bit to solve something. It can resolve modeling if other countries model this by the non-progressive taxation or the non-progressive taxation, or the tax itself could cause businesses to become more efficient. The threshold is very low to not the threshold to go on presumption is extremely low, so we definitely don't lose to that. Now, every net benefit for SRT good is dropped. Firstly, it's real world. Policymakers combine proposals with logical fixes to avoid the foreseeable downsides that boost logic and teaches advocacy. Second is education and rewards holistic analysis and literature instead of pigeonholing into minute substance. Third is app ground. Anything else leaves the app setting ducks against circumvention or non-enforcement induced by Republican lobbies. Four is arbitrariness. They drop the extra topicality, proves the resolution. They said non-resolution procedures are bad, so they cannot go for extra T bad. Now, the sole affirmative burden is to prove that the resolution is true, and the sole negative burden is to prove that it is false. Extra topicality fulfills that condition in the same way that permutations fulfill that condition by proving that the plan is a good idea. Any other burden is contrived and infinitely aggressive, and arbitrariness independently outweighs because that's for fairness. If we want the resolution factually means extra topicality is legitimate, then it is unfair to vote us down on it. And then the second argument is research because predictable debates are key to clash and detailed contestation, which improves the quality of advocacy. And finally, jurisdiction. If we're correct about resolution burdens, then it proves her argument ought to be procedurally excluded. The requirement for them to be on the negative side of the pairing is to prove that the plan is either bad or doesn't fulfill the resolution requirement through a T violation. Otherwise, you can jurisdictionally not cast a negative ballot.
I like that.
Okay. Extra T is good as per non-res theory badge.
Extra T is good as per non-res.
They said non-res theory badge. Extra T proves the resolution true because the plan is a good idea. Same way perms proves that